Steven, you're so lucky that Bass Ken Robbins is hosting your orientation on how to be a board member of the Regional Center. When I joined my local board last year, we didn't have any A-list celebrities.
Yeah, Maya, my service coordinator was right. You love being on the board, so I might too. This is going to be way better than volunteering for that cat adoption at the dog park.
Hey, I didn't know you brought Wax to the orientation.
Oh yes, he's very interested in 501c3 governance.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the person the Santa Maria Strip Mall Flyer March 2006 called almost half as good as a game show host, Bass Ken Robbins!
Thank you very much. On behalf of myself, I'm grateful you chose to attend today's orientation seminar. In just 15 short minutes, I will masterfully tell you all you need to know about being a board member. After this quick disclaimer.
The following seminar does not show you all you need to know about being a board member. It is a basic overview of a very complicated system and its board governance. However, Mr. Robbins' contract strictly states that we infer that he knows everything.
What is the California Regional Center System? Well, in 1969, the Lanterman Act was passed by the legislature and signed by Governor Reagan, making California the only state in the nation to provide lifelong entitlement services to people with IDD, or intellectual or developmental disabilities, so that they have every opportunity to lead full, independent lives.
Lanterman? Isn't that Dexter's favorite superhero show?
Make way for Lanterman! Jumping Jupiter's rings! Follow that saucer!
Yeah, it's probably just a coincidence.
The act was the result of advocacy by parents who wanted their children with disabilities to live and thrive in the community. During the pilot phase, 2 centers were opened and served 559 people. In 2024, the 21 independent regional centers serve over 400,000 Californians with autism, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, intellectual disabilities, and more. And why 21? Well, you see—
Oh, I know!
Maya, you've been to my other seminars. You know that all my questions are intentionally rhetorical so that I can answer them myself. But since we are friends, go ahead.
The Lanterman Act was designed intentionally to respond to community needs, not to create a state-run system. California is so large, with such a diverse population, that breaking the system up into 21 centers allows for localization of services. Services provided by centers who know their communities and can tailor how to best serve people in their native languages and socioeconomic backgrounds. They also know available vendors and other pertinent information necessary to best serve their communities.
Wow! Well said, bud.
I do my homework.
Well, I was going to say because it's the law, but your explanation is also acceptable. Now, if I may continue, that small pilot program 6 decades ago has grown and changed dramatically. So now, regional centers are major businesses supporting thousands of people, with budgets ranging from $300 to over $800 million a year. As of 2024, the annual budget was almost $15 billion. That's billion.
Excuse me.
Yes, Maya. I could take one short question.
That's a lot of money. Do you have PowerPoint presentations to keep track of all that money?
Yes, well,
Who manages the money? How does the state know the money is doing what it's supposed to? Who ensures the regional centers adhere to the law? Who tells the regional centers what they can and cannot do?
thank you, Maya, for your one short question. The state government's Department of Developmental Services, or DDS, oversees the system and actually has a contract with the board of directors of each regional center, laying out the specific functions they must adhere to in order to receive funding and be allowed to operate on behalf of the Lanterman Act. DDS sets the rules and funds the independent regional centers, who administer the program. The contract is 85 pages long, and I shall now recite it for you verbatim. All right. Instead, I will give you a very brief overview of what the contract entails. It lays out what services are and are not available under the law, and how individuals with developmental disabilities can qualify to be in the Regional Center program. DDS sets stringent oversight provisions for fiscal management, contractor operations and evaluations, performance reviews, staffing, monitoring and reporting to both the state and the federal government, which, for the record, funds about 40% of the annual budget. DDS must ensure that all statutes and requirements of the contract are being met, or funding may be put in jeopardy. So, the department has over 700 employees to perform these functions. Yes, sir?
Hey, bud, if DDS does all that, why have a board of directors?
I'm happy to answer that question. After all, I am collecting a hefty fee for giving this seminar. While the state does monitor the entire system for compliance, each local regional center relies on its board of directors to ensure it is following the law, the contract, and respectfully and efficiently serving the local community. The boards, by law, are comprised of people who have some basic knowledge of finance, management, the IDD community, and also reflects the local community they serve. This means it must contain at least 25% members with developmental disabilities, and additionally have members that reflect the ethnic diversity of their region.
That seems like a lot.
It is a lot, and no board member is expected to know everything that happens at a regional center at the granular level. That's why the centers employ hundreds of people, each experts in their fields, to handle the daily aspects of operations. You and every board member have numerous resources at your disposal to look at the big picture of each regional center, starting with the one employee that reports to the board.
I thought you just said there were hundreds of employees.
There are, but the board only has one, the executive director. Makes it easier for us to get information.
Correct! That person is a highly trained and educated professional in the disabilities and social services and administration space. They are often selected after an extensive search to find just the right person. They run the day-to-day operations, and it's their job and their team's job to understand and implement the DDS contract in its fine detail. Your job as a board member and your dozen or more colleagues on the board is to receive timely reports from the executive director and their senior staff on how the regional center is doing. You are responsible to ask questions and get answers from the executive director if you have any concerns.
I'm confused, Mr. Ken Robbins. You said we don't need to know everything, so how...
I was just getting to that. The state requires that each regional center provides continual training, such as this one today. DDS also supplies training materials. It is the executive director's job to make sure every member of the board understands the overarching operations of the regional center and its financial health, how it intends to operate with the highest regard for the people served, and how it plans on addressing future growth and challenges.
Once you get used to it, it's actually pretty easy, Steven. The trainings are awesome, and our board members all help each other.
Correct again, Maya. You clearly loved my other trainings. DDS also makes sure boards can fulfill their function. And while the regional center staff work full-time, this is not your full-time job. However, you should ask your regional center approximately how many hours a month board members are usually required to attend. In your volunteer role, you will have regular full board meetings, trainings like this one, and each of you should be on committees like Finance or Community Services or the People's Advisory Committee, so you can see in more detail the workings of your center.
So I get to work with the families and everyone else who works there?
I'm so glad you asked that question. And you'll be pleased to hear the answer is 100% no.
No?
No. In fact, you are not allowed to do any of those things. And for good reason. Firstly, a board needs to be above the fray, so to speak. If you're deep in the weeds, you cannot see the big picture. Your job is always big picture. Also, the people served by the regional centers are entitled to their privacy under HIPAA. And no one, including board members, are allowed to know anyone else's business. Your job is to make sure that the right people are working successfully to deliver the right services to people overall, not to get involved in the day-to-day.
A few months ago, a friend asked me to help him get more services. I asked the executive director and the board president, and they said I'm not allowed to do that. If I were allowed to, then the board would only help each other and their friends, and that wouldn't be fair to the other 20,000 people at my regional center.
I like that. It's fair play.
This is what I like to call fair play. If board members are allowed to interfere with operations or help get favors, it's not only unfair, they couldn't objectively do their jobs. Remember, you are always looking down from the very top to make sure that, as a whole, what's supposed to happen is happening. There is a fine line between oversight and interference.
It sounds like eyes in, hands out.
I like to call this the eyes in, hands out approach. Trademark Bass Ken Robbins, all rights reserved. The eyes in means the board members look at the information, ask questions of the team, and discuss the issues, while the hands out means you don't get directly involved in the day-to-day operations of the regional center. And remember, it's perfectly fine and normal that not all board members agree on something or vote the same way. You get your vote, and as always, the majority wins. However, once the board makes a decision, it's your fiduciary responsibility to represent to all parties the final decision and maintain board unity.
Fiduciary? I don't even know what that means.
No one actually does, son.
It means that you have an obligation to maintain trust and take all of your actions on behalf and for the good of the entity, not for yourself.
Okay, one person does. There is one other important point I want to make here in addition to the one I didn't understand. When you are on the board of directors of the regional center, you must avoid a conflict of interest. That means you cannot have another thing you do that may cause you to pick that interest over the board's. You must be looking out for the organization first and foremost, to benefit everyone it serves. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my introduction to being on the board of a regional center seminar. At this time, I am obligated, I would like to open the floor to questions.
Do you think we should ask another question? Can you tell us about the public comment procedure and etiquette at meetings?
Ah, the public! The people! The great experiment that our country was founded on! Yes, board meetings are by law in California open to the public, and they may ask questions during the allotted time. Some of their comments are informational, which is very constructive for the regional centers. However, occasionally someone will speak up in board meetings about their own personal situation and request action or answers right then and there. This presents a challenge because, as we talked about, confidentiality comes into play, as does the board's prohibition against being involved in personal cases or situations. When this happens, the board and the staff from the regional center have to listen respectfully and politely, take notes about the situation, and later on, the board president and the executive director will find the right team of people to respond. This allows for a thoughtful investigation into any questions raised, rather than responding from a place of not knowing all the facts, emotion, or a desire to help. And if there are no more questions... I see the turtle in the front row seems to have a question. However, I'm not really sure what to do with that, so I will ask the young man what his question is.
My question is, where do we sign up?
Excellent! You can apply to your regional center and fill out their application online, or contact them by phone to speak to someone who can guide you through the application process. For members of our community who want to volunteer, you can always ask your service coordinator. Before you do that, however, I will leave you with this piece of advice my own father told me when I was only a lad. Before making the commitment to volunteer, you should attend a few board meetings first. That way, you can make sure that being on the board is a good fit for you. It's a great honor and privilege to serve the community in this way. And as we've learned today, it is also a responsibility. Make sure you know you can commit the time and effort it takes. Finally, find me in the lobby after today's seminar. I'll be signing copies of my autobiography, One Fell Scoop, the Bass Ken Robbins story, Volume 6. Good night, everyone.
That was amazing!
It was a home run. We'll make an awesome team. What do you think, Wax? Wax?
Oh, Wax.